Oh boy, now it's time for me to let you know a little bit about what's on my little mind today. Periodically during our services, I ask you to stand. I ask you to sit. I ask you to stand. I ask you to sit. But I also try to tell those who cannot stand, please be seated. Don't stand, please. If you can't stand, don't. Tomorrow, as I said a few times already, is Yom HaShoah. I hope everybody knows what Yom HaShoah is. The day of the remembrance of the Holocaust, the Shoah. And it occurred to me that if any of us would have been brought to one of the concentration camps and was unable to stand, I doubt that person would have survived the first day. The truth is, many who could stand did not even survive the cattle cars, let alone the ones who couldn't. So then maybe I could ask for a moment of silence, during which no one should make a sound. But then I realized that most of us have trouble making it through these services without saying something, either to someone else or even by reacting to things out loud to ourselves. That doesn't work. For those who were unable to keep silent in the camps, certain death cured that problem. Perhaps I could ask all the most beautiful among us to stand over there on one side. Then I realized that for those who would have been in the camps, beauty may have temporarily kept them alive, but what the Nazis did to them, was that life? I was going to ask that those taking medication for diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, or depression to step over on the other side. But then I remembered that no one received medicines in the camp. They surely died as a result, or they were experimented with until they died. Miserable, miserable, painful deaths. As for those who feel the need to leave the service to go to the Beit HaKisei, to the bathroom, again in the camps, that would also not have been permitted. And by now, we are all thinking about what might have happened to us during the days of the Shoah. I wondered what the Nazis would want me, an old rabbi who has little to no ability to help with the physical labor. What would they want with me? I do not have a green thumb. I am not a classical pianist or violinist. Sure, I play the accordion, but that's not so good. And what joints I have left are all shot. That's it. This past Tuesday, we said Yisker. Tomorrow, Yom HaShoah. Just a few days ago, Yisker. Today is Shabbat Acharei Mot, when we are reminded of the deaths of Aaron's two sons, Nadav and Avihu. A lot of death. And then we remember, of course, at the front of our minds, October 7th. We have seen our people being tortured and killed. The colleges and universities have become magnets for anti-Semites, not from necessarily from the student body or the professors, but from outsiders. Half of them are outsiders, agitators, paid. And in today's email I sent out, it tells you where the money's coming from and the organizations who are supporting this. They gave all their support to our enemies. They embolden our enemies. Death to Israel, death to the United States, they say. With all these reminders of hatred and death, how could we ignore it on this Shabbat? Many families lost children, not just one, but two or three or four or more in the Shoah and again on October 7th. Aaron lost two. Parents did not have the ability to grieve. Similarly, Aaron was not allowed to weep for the deaths of his sons, as Moshe told him that he must not. Adding this together hits us harder this year than in the past. There's so much. It's beyond acceptable. It's beyond, we can't even deal with it. I thought about the tears we shed when our loved ones pass. I thought about how we cried when we heard our beloved brothers and sisters are being murdered, dismembered, raped, and beheaded on October 7th. I thought about how Aharon had to contain his crying. Think it's easy to lead a service today on this kind of a day? Think it's easy? Not easy any day, frankly, because you're facing God. But today, with all this going on in my mind, this past Tuesday, as we recited our Yizkor prayers for our parents, grandparents, spouses, siblings, children, and for all the others that we loved so, many of us may have thought about honoring their memories by keeping up the causes, charities, and institutions that were especially important to them. The truth is, many of us may think we know what they viewed as important, but we're not clairvoyant. How can we be so sure? We do know this. We know that we as Jews pledged to never again let the Shoah happen. But as we look at the world around us, making that pledge was beyond our capability. Just words. Never again. Just words. Today, there are more and more people who are far too eager to support those who wish to throw all Jews into the sea, even to the point where there are those who are calling the Jewish people Nazis and genocidal monsters. Let me tell you, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Hitler, Yamach Shemo, may his name be erased, and the rest of those Nazis would not give a damn about who was supportive or who was against Israel. They didn't care. If someone was a Jew or who had a certain amount of Jewish blood in them, those people would have been scheduled for extermination, period. We all know that this is exactly what's happening now. We all know that there's such runaway anti-Semitism that not just over there, but right here in the good old United States of America. You know, it got so bad that Congress saw fit to pass laws to outlaw anti-Semitism this week. Unbelievable. And to my disgust, more than 100 Democrats and Republicans voted against the bill. Bipartisan vote against, although it was very well supported by most in the bipartisan way. Road apples. That's what I think about those laws. Road apples. It's not even a good start. Like my father, Alei Shalom, used to say, talk is cheap. It takes money to buy whiskey. These laws could not be enforced. They're words. That's all they are. So what should we do? We must double and triple down on our support for Jewish organizations, especially synagogues. We all know they cannot exist without our help. They will shut down and will not be here when we need them. And without synagogues, what happens to the Federation and the other organizations that are so important. They disappear too. If they go away, that doesn't mean synagogues go away. But if synagogues go away, they go away. That is reality. Face it. So when the moment comes when we have to sit or collapse to the ground, when we have to stay quiet, when we have to go to the bathroom and we're not allowed, or when we have to take medication but we do not get any, like it or not, it will be too late to be in a position to do what we should be doing right now. Many of us have asked why the Jews of Europe did not take the actions to have prevented what happened to them. Perhaps we should be asking the same question of ourselves. History does repeat itself, but why do we never learn anything from these very predictable and repeatable lessons? Why? Let me assure you, I'm not a Chicken Little. For those who think I'm saying the sky is falling and do not see it themselves, what am I supposed to say? As Jews, we can and must do something about it. I have no idea and no expectation that anyone else will. Passing laws, great. But passing laws that have no teeth, great, very nice. They do nothing. One thing we must learn from history is that there is no someone else. We are responsible for our own lives, our own beings, our own Judaism. Saying never again, those are just words. Every Jew must decide that if it is to be, it's only up to me, nobody else. We are responsible for ourselves. There is still time. There is plenty of time, but we got to stop now. I mean, we got to start now. Never stop talking. Never stop giving. Never stop doing. This is the only way to turn never again from mere words to actuality. And with that, I want to wish you Shabbat Shalom. And when I say Am Yisrael Chai, I'm not just talking about the country. I'm talking about every Jew that lives on this planet. Shabbat Shalom, Am Yisrael Chai.